I mean, you've got things like the soup maker, the judge, the stew maker, yes, sorry.
The soup makers this year.
How do you come up with these guys? Because they're by far one of the most interesting set of criminal villains that I've seen on TV so far.
Well, I would say one of the baseline questions that helps every episode is we have to ask ourselves something that was established in the pilot, which is, these are criminals the FBI doesn't know exists. So that eliminates a lot of people. And so from just the very sort of first hurdle that we have to get past, we have to look in areas that are very obscure. And so that's the sort of initial path that we take. And after that, it's very difficult.
Cool. Thank you very much. James, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, the fact that the FBI doesn't know about 162 of the worst criminals, I'm a little concerned about the FBI, but that's another story. Yeah, next up.
Yeah, so I think everybody in the room can agree with me that Red's One More Time monologue in the box was probably the best written and best played moment on TV this year. So my question for you, James, is as an actor, how did you prep for that monologue? And even for that whole episode, what obstacles did you face and things like that?
Well, in terms of that monologue specifically, it came out of conversations. That script was written by Joe Carnahan. And it came out of conversations with him about that was not what the speech was. The thrust of that scene was different from that. But we started talking about, I first talked to these guys when I first received an early draft of the script. I started talking with these guys about what we really wanted to tell from Red during the course of this episode. And at the end of that conversation, we all felt that the thrust of that moment and the thrust of that time with Ressler in that box was about something different than what was in the draft. And we had talked about what that time should be. And then they discussed this with Joe, and they urged me to discuss it with Joe, and Joe and I got on the phone, and we discussed at great length about what really that was about, and really what story needed to be told. And what for that man in that circumstance, what would be the thing that would be important for him to impart to somebody who in fact is dying? And so once those conversations took place and we realized that there was now a new structure for what the thrust of that scene was, Joe took a pass, and then I called up Joe, and Joe put in his things that he wanted to have time for before he would die, and I called him up and I told him the things that I felt were important. You'll all be relieved to know that while I was overseas shooting The Avengers this spring, I had a chance to go and have one more meal at L'Embassy in the Place des Vosges in Paris. And Sunday night, tomorrow night, I'll be going and listening to one more night of jazz at the Vanguard. I probably shouldn't have said that. Now there'll be people that'll be showing up there. But anyway.